I didn't recognize the handwriting on the envelope. Not at first. I was standing in my kitchen in Toronto, watching the November sleet batter against the window when I heard the mail slot rattle. The thick, cream-colored envelope landed on the hardwood with a sound heavier than paper should make. Mr. Thomas Whitmore. That's what the return address said. Whitmore and Associates, Barristers and Solicitors, Bay Street. I turned it over twice before opening it, my fingers stiff from the cold radiating through the single-pane glass. Dear Mr. Chen, I regret to inform you that your father, Robert Chen, passed away on November 8th at Sunnybrook Hospital. As the executor of his estate, I need to meet with you regarding matters of his will. Please contact my office at your earliest convenience. I read it 3 times. The words didn't change. My father was dead. Robert Chen, the man who built Chen Manufacturing from a garage workshop into a supplier for half the automotive plants in Ontario, was gone. And I'd found out from a lawyer's letter, not a phone call from my brother or sister. 11 years. That's how long it had been since I'd spoken to any of them. 11 years since the Christmas dinner where my brother William stood up and called me a disgrace to the family name. Where my sister Patricia sat silent, her mouth a thin line of disapproval. Where my father looked at me with those cold eyes and said, "If you walk out that door, Thomas, you're choosing poverty over family." I'd chosen the door. I was 62 years old now. I'd spent those 11 years teaching music at a community center in Scarborough, living in a 1-bedroom apartment, driving a 15-year-old Honda. My ex-wife had left 7 years ago, tired of waiting for a success that never came. My daughter Emily, now 28, called on birthdays and Christmas, but always sounded rushed, always had somewhere else to be. I called the number on the letter. Mr. Chen, Thomas Whitmore's voice was professionally warm. Thank you for reaching out. Can you come to my office tomorrow? Say, 2 o'clock? What's this about? Your father's will. There are several beneficiaries. It's important we discuss this in person. I took the subway downtown the next day. Whitmore's office was on the 32nd floor, all glass and polished oak. He was younger than I expected, maybe 45, with wire-rimmed glasses and a firm handshake. Please, sit. He gestured to a leather chair that probably cost more than my monthly rent. First, my condolences. I know you and your father had complicated relations. We had no relations. Yes. Well, he opened a file folder. Your father's estate is substantial. Chen Manufacturing was sold last year to a consortium for $42 million. After taxes and settling business debts, the estate is valued at approximately $28 million. I stared at him. $28 million. I couldn't even picture that much money. Your father's will, Whitmore continued, divides the estate among his 3 children. However, the distribution is unconventional. He slid a paper across the desk. I looked at the numbers, blinked, looked again. William Chen, $2 million. Patricia Chen, $2 million. Thomas Chen, $24, 000. This can't be right. I assure you, it is. Your father was very specific. He revised his will 3 months ago. This is what he wanted. Why? Whitmore removed his glasses, cleaned them carefully. I asked him the same question. He said, because Thomas was the only one brave enough to choose himself. I sat there, numb. $24 million. It didn't feel real. None of this felt real. There's a caveat, Whitmore said. The will is contestable for 60 days. Anyone with a financial interest can challenge it. Given the unusual distribution, I expect your siblings will contest. Can they win? Your father was of sound mind. The will is properly executed, but legal battles can be lengthy, expensive, emotionally draining. I rode the subway home in a daze. $24 million. I could buy a house, a car. I could retire. I could help Emily, maybe rebuild that relationship. I could finally breathe. My phone rang that evening. Unknown number. Tommy? The voice was familiar, warm in a way I hadn't heard in over a decade. It's William. How did you get my number? I asked around. Listen, Tommy. I'm sorry about Dad. I know you two had your differences, but this must be hard. I said nothing. Patricia and I would like to meet with you, to talk about Dad, about the family, about moving forward, the will. A pause. Well, yes, that too, but mostly, Tommy, we want to reconnect. We're family. Life's too short for this distance. We met at a restaurant in Yorkville, the kind of place I'd never have gone on my own, where entrees cost what I used to spend on groceries for a week. William arrived first. Expensive suit, perfect haircut. He'd put on weight, but carried it well. Patricia came 10 minutes later. Designer handbag, pearls. She looked like our mother had, before the cancer took her 20 years ago. Tommy. William stood, embraced me. It felt rehearsed. It's been too long. 11 years, I said. Too long, Patricia echoed. She didn't hug me, just touched my arm lightly. You look well. I didn't. I looked like what I was. A 62-year-old man who taught piano to kids in a community center basement, who wore the same 3 sport coats in rotation, who hadn't had a haircut in 2 months. We ordered. They ordered wine, expensive bottles I couldn't pronounce. I asked for water. We wanted to talk about Dad's will, William said, after the waiter left. It's unexpected. That's one word for it. Patricia leaned forward. Tommy, we think there's been a mistake. Dad wasn't himself the last few months. The doctors said the medication for his heart condition could cause confusion. The lawyer said he was sound. Lawyers say what they're paid to say, William cut in. Think about it, Tommy. 24 million to you? After 11 years of silence? While Patricia and I were there, running the business, taking care of him when he got sick? I didn't ask for it. We know. Patricia's voice was honey-sweet. That's why we're here. We want to make this fair. We want to make this right. William pulled out a folder. We've had our lawyers draw up an agreement. You release your claim to the estate, and we pay you $10 million. Cash. Immediately. No probate, no waiting, no lawyers draining the estate with fees. 10 million. 2 million more than what they were getting combined. It sounded generous. It sounded fair. You'd have the money in your account within 48 hours, Patricia added. You could buy a house, travel, retire comfortably, and we'd handle all the complicated business affairs, the property sales, the corporate dissolution. You wouldn't have to deal with any of it. I looked at the contract. $10 million. My signature, their signatures, a notary seal. Why? I asked. Why what? Why are you offering me 10 million when you could contest the will and maybe get me down to 8 million? 7? William and Patricia exchanged a glance. Because you're our brother, William said. Because we've lost enough years already. I took the contract home. I read it 17 times over the next 3 days. Every time, it looked the same. $10 million in exchange for releasing all claims. Simple, clean, fair. But something nagged at me. The way Patricia's hand had trembled when she passed me the folder. The way William had been too casual, too smooth. The way they'd both been so eager to settle immediately. On the 4th day, I called Thomas Whitmore. Mr. Chen, have you made a decision about your siblings' offer? You knew about it? They contacted me about facilitating the settlement. I advised them it was premature. Why premature? A pause. There are elements of your father's estate we haven't discussed yet. I was waiting until the reading of the will, but perhaps we should meet sooner. I went back to his office the next morning. This time, he looked uncomfortable. Your father, he began, left specific instructions about when certain information should be disclosed. I'm supposed to wait 30 days before revealing this, but given your siblings' pressure, I think you should know now. He opened a different file, pulled out a photograph. A young woman, maybe 25, standing in front of a building I recognized. The University of Toronto, Faculty of Engineering. This is Jennifer Wu. She's a graduate student in mechanical engineering. She's also your father's daughter. The world tilted. What? Your father had a relationship with her mother, Grace Wu, beginning about 30 years ago. Grace was an accountant at Chen Manufacturing. The relationship lasted 5 years. Jennifer was born in 1998. Your father supported them financially but kept the relationship secret. Does she know? Grace told Jennifer about Robert 2 years ago, when Jennifer was accepted to U of T. Your father met with her several times. They developed a relationship. Why are you telling me this? Because Jennifer is also a beneficiary. Your father left her $4 million and established a trust fund for her education and research. I did the math. 24 million for me, 4 million for Jennifer. That left 20 million, 2 million each for William and Patricia, plus 16 million missing. Where's the other 16 million? Whitmore smiled grimly. Your father donated it to establish the Grace Wu Memorial Scholarship at U of T for first-generation Canadian students in engineering. Irrevocable, already transferred, so William and Patricia only get $2 million each. Yes, your father was very specific about the amounts. And the timing of revelations. They don't know about Jennifer. Not unless they've hired investigators. The donation to U of T was made quietly. Jennifer's inheritance isn't public record until the will is read, which happens in 26 days. I sat back. Now it made sense. William and Patricia thought there was $28 million to fight over. They thought if they could get me to accept $10 million, they'd split the remaining $18 million, $9 million each. Much better than $2 million. What happens if I sign their agreement? You'd forfeit your $24 million for $10 million. They'd discover Jennifer's existence and the scholarship donation. They'd be left with $2 million each as specified in the will, since you'd have released your claim, but that doesn't increase theirs. They'd have successfully reduced your inheritance by $14 million, while gaining nothing themselves. Except I wouldn't know the truth. Exactly. I thought about my father, Robert Chen, the man who'd built an empire through precision and planning, who'd always played chess while everyone else played checkers. Even in death, he was teaching lessons. There's one more thing, Whitmore said. He pulled out an envelope. Your father left this for you. I'm to give it to you only if you hadn't signed your siblings' agreement by day 30. You're ahead of schedule. The envelope was heavy. Inside, several pages in my father's precise handwriting. Thomas, if you're reading this, you've resisted the easy money. Good. I taught you better than I thought. I was a terrible father to you. When you chose music over business, I called it weakness. When you married Mary against my wishes, I called it rebellion. When you walked away from the family, I called it betrayal. I was wrong on all counts. William and Patricia stayed because they wanted the business, the money, the status. You left because you wanted yourself. That took courage I never had. I stayed in a loveless marriage for reputation. I kept Grace and Jennifer secret for appearances. I built wealth but died with only one son who'd chosen integrity over inheritance, until I changed my will. The distribution isn't random, Thomas. William and Patricia get $2 million each because that's what they'd have gotten if I'd never built the business at all. I had $2 million when I started Chen Manufacturing in 1978. That's their inheritance. The starting line I began from, nothing more. They've already taken their ambition and drive from me. Let them build their own fortunes. Jennifer gets $4 million because she's brilliant, driven, and deserves a foundation to build from. She's studying engineering. She's everything I hoped you children would be. Smart, yes, but also kind. She visits her mother every weekend. She volunteers tutoring newcomers. She's building a life of meaning, not just money. You get $24 million because you're the only one who never asked for it. Because you built a life teaching children music, making less in a year than I spent on cars. Because you stayed honest when dishonesty would have been easier. Because you walked away when I tried to buy your compliance. I'm giving you wealth because you proved you don't need it to be whole. William and Patricia will try to take it from you. They'll offer you money. They'll pretend to reconcile. They'll hire lawyers, investigators, anything to avoid admitting I chose you over them. This is your test, Thomas. Will you take the easy money and let them win? Or will you stand firm and show them what real strength looks like? Grace taught me something in our years together, she said. Wealth is a tool, Robert. You can use it to build walls or bridges. I built walls. I'm hoping you'll build bridges, real ones, not the fake reconciliation your siblings will offer. Finally, about Jennifer. She doesn't know about you, William, or Patricia yet. She knows she has siblings, but not your names. I've left it to you whether to reach out. She's a good person, Thomas. Better than I deserved. Better than any of us deserved. If you choose to meet her, do it because you want to know your sister, not because she's part of the inheritance drama. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I hope you'll understand this. I was proud of you every day of those 11 years. Proud that my son had the spine to choose poverty with principles over wealth with conditions. That's the real inheritance I'm leaving you. The knowledge that you already passed the test I failed my entire life. Build something good, Thomas. Build something that matters. Your father, Robert. I read the letter 4 times. Then I called William. Tommy, have you made a decision? I have. The answer's no. Silence. Then, Tommy, be reasonable. 10 million is generous. It's not about the money. Then what's it about? It's about what Dad actually wanted. And why? Dad wasn't thinking clearly. Dad was thinking clearer than he had in decades. I'll see you at the will reading in 26 days. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. From relief. The next 3 weeks were brutal. William's lawyers sent letters. Patricia called, crying, saying I was tearing the family apart. They offered 12 million, 15 million, 18 million. Each offer proved they didn't know about Jennifer or the scholarship. Each offer proved they were exactly who Dad thought they were. I didn't answer. The will reading was in Whitmore's conference room. William and Patricia arrived together, their lawyers flanking them like bodyguards. They looked at me with cold fury. Then Jennifer Wu walked in. She was small, maybe 5'2", with her mother's delicate features and my father's serious eyes. She wore jeans and a U of T engineering sweatshirt. She looked terrified. "What is she doing here?" Patricia demanded. "She's a beneficiary," Whitmore said calmly. "Please, everyone sit." He read the will, every word. William's face went from red to purple to white. Patricia just stared, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. When Whitmore finished, William exploded. "This is fraud. He wasn't competent. We'll contest this. You can try," Whitmore said. Mr. Chen had 3 independent medical evaluations in the month before he revised his will. All confirmed his competency. He had me video record him explaining his reasoning. He anticipated every legal challenge you might raise and documented his responses. 24 million to Thomas. After 11 years, while we ran his company, you were compensated generously as executives. Your salaries, bonuses, and stock options over the past decade total well over 6 million each. Mr. Chen considered that compensation for your work. The inheritance is separate. Patricia turned to me, eyes pleading. "Tommy, please, we're family." Dad was manipulated. He must have been. That woman, she pointed at, Jennifer and her mother. They seduced him. Enough. My voice was quiet but firm. Jennifer didn't seduce anyone. She was born. That's not a crime. And Dad wasn't manipulated. He was finally honest. About what? William sneered. About which of his children actually loved him versus which ones loved his money. I stood up, walked over to Jennifer, who looked like she wanted to disappear into her chair. "Hi," I said. "I'm Thomas. I'm your brother." She looked up at me with those serious eyes. My mom said my father had other children, but, yeah, we're kind of a mess. But if you want, maybe we could get coffee sometime? Talk about him. About engineering. About whatever." Her smile was small but genuine. "I'd like that." I turned to William and Patricia. "The will stands. You can contest it if you want. Waste your 2 million on lawyers who'll tell you what Whitmore just said. Dad was competent. The will is solid. You'll lose. Or you can take your inheritance and do something meaningful with it. Like you?" William's voice dripped contempt. "What are you going to do? Teach more piano lessons? You're a 62-year-old failure, Tommy. You always were. Maybe. But I'm a failure who chose integrity over Dad's approval. That's more than you can say." I left. Jennifer followed me out. "I'm sorry," she said in the elevator. "I didn't mean to cause problems with your family. You didn't cause anything. This was Dad's choice. And honestly, I think it was the first really honest choice he made in decades." "Did you know him well? Before?" "Not as well as I thought. But I'm starting to understand him better now." We went for coffee. She told me about her research in sustainable manufacturing, about her mother, who'd worked 2 jobs to put her through school before Dad's support kicked in, about her guilt over accepting his money when she knew he had a whole other family. "He loved you," I said. "I can tell from the will. The scholarship in your mother's name. The trust fund. He wanted you to succeed." "He loved you too," she said. "He talked about you sometimes. Said you were the brave one, that you chose yourself when he never could." Over the following months, I learned Jennifer was right. Dad had talked about me to Grace and Jennifer, told them about the Christmas dinner argument, about how I'd chosen music over money, about how he'd admired that even as he'd condemned it. Grace was kind when I met her, sad that Robert was gone, but not devastated. "He was good to us," she said, "but he was never fully present, always divided. I think maybe that's why he wanted you and Jennifer to meet. You're both his children who he could be honest with, even if it took too long. William and Patricia contested the will. They spent $600,000 on lawyers before Whitmore's evidence convinced them to drop it. They didn't speak to me afterward. I didn't expect them to. I used the money carefully. Bought a modest house in East York. Set up trust funds for Emily and her future children. Donated $2 million to the community center where I'd taught music, enough to renovate the building and fund free programs for 20 years. The rest I invested conservatively. I didn't need wealth to feel whole. Dad was right about that. But I could use it to do good. Jennifer and I had dinner once a month. Sometimes Grace joined us. We talked about engineering, music, Dad's complicated legacy. She introduced me to her boyfriend, Marcus, a software engineer who made her laugh. I told her about Emily, who was slowly warming to having an aunt, even one born from her grandfather's secrets. On the anniversary of Dad's death, Jennifer and I visited his grave together. The headstone was simple. Robert Chen, 1942 to 2024. Builder. Do you forgive him? Jennifer asked. I thought about it. About the 11 years of silence. About the letter. About the choice he'd made at the end. I'm working on it, I said. He was human, flawed, but he tried to make it right at the end. That counts for something. Mom says he loved you most, because you were the only one who didn't need him to. Maybe that was true. Maybe not. But I'd learned something through all of this. Inheritance isn't about money. It's about what you choose to carry forward and what you choose to leave behind. I carried forward Dad's work ethic, his precision, his strategic thinking. I left behind his need for control, his fear of vulnerability, his obsession with appearances. William and Patricia carried forward his worst traits: the need to win, the reduction of relationships to transactions, the belief that money equals worth. Jennifer carried forward his best, his brilliance, his capacity for growth, his late life understanding that meaning matters more than status. I'm 63 now. I teach piano 3 days a week because I want to, not because I have to. I sit on the board of the Grace Wu Memorial Scholarship, helping first-generation students achieve their dreams. I have dinner with my daughter Emily every Sunday. I spend holidays with Jennifer and Grace and Marcus. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I'd signed William's agreement. I'd have 10 million instead of 24. I'd have avoided the confrontation, the judgment, the pain. I'd have kept the peace. But I wouldn't have Jennifer, wouldn't have understood Dad, wouldn't have learned that sometimes the hardest path leads to the most growth. Money can reveal character or corrupt it. Dad's wealth revealed William and Patricia's greed, Jennifer's humility, my own capacity to choose principle over comfort. The inheritance wasn't the money. The inheritance was the test. And unlike my father's first 60 years, I passed. If there's anything I've learned from all this, it's this. Real wealth isn't in your bank account. It's in your integrity, your relationships, your ability to look in the mirror and respect who you see. Dad learned that too late. But he learned it, and he passed that lesson forward in the only way he knew how, through one final strategic play that forced his children to reveal who they really were. William and Patricia revealed they valued money over family. Jennifer revealed she valued education and kindness over wealth. I revealed I valued truth over comfort. We all inherited exactly what we deserved. And sometimes, that's the most honest thing a parent can give their children. Not what they want, but what they need to become who they're meant to be.